So it is the end of a work day for me. I look a mess, but a bike came in that I think is probably one of the more important bikes in the Giant lineup. Let's take a look. So this is none other than the standard edition of the Trance. We are no longer beholden to buying the Trance X because for so long, because of the pandemic, that was all that was available. Not knocking the Trance X, that's a phenomenal bike. But for the majority of people, guys, at least in my area, the standard Trance is more than enough, more than capable, and it has a little bit better pedaling efficiency only because it's got less travel than the Trance X. That's why I was really excited when the aluminum versions of this bike finally became available. This guy right here retails at $2,800, which is great for what you get on this bike. And I say it's one of the more important bikes in the lineup because this is kind of where people start spending a decent chunk of change on a bike. So what are you actually getting? Let's run through the specs first. I will weigh it, we'll talk about the weight. So this is the first time that I've ever actually seen this thing, and I just want to go over my first impressions coming from a bike shop mechanics slash mountain bike slash road bike slash I race everything except for track. Not because I don't want to try track, it's just because it's hard to spend the time. That's not what you're here for. As Giant states, this bike is meant for you to turn up the heat on technical trails. And you're going to do it with more confidence and control because it is featuring updated suspension and adjustable geometry. This feisty 29er adapts to any terrain. I love these companies like hooks, just makes you so excited. It's a feisty bike. I like that. That's good. So the first thing we do want to talk about is the adjustable frame geometry because it has a flip chip. All of the Trances now feature this flip chip. So you can fine tune whether you want it in the low setting or the high setting. Basically, for all intents and purposes, if you put it in one setting, it's gonna be better for descending. The other setting is gonna be better for tight technical trails and climbing. It does have 29 wheels and it is an aluminum frame with 130 millimeter fork up front and 120 millimeters of rear travel. The front fork is a Marzocchi Z2. It is 130, custom tuned for Giant. If you guys did not know, which if you follow the channel, you probably already do because I say it enough, but Marzocchi has been purchased by Fox. So what Fox, it seems like they are trying to do is they're trying to take Marzocchi and make it their, I don't know, anywhere from maybe $400 to $700 fork option, and then the Fox name is going to be for the higher tier items. But for all intents and purposes, you're getting a Fox front fork. So it's a good fork, but in case you didn't know and you were wondering why they put Fox on the rear and Marzocchi on the front, it's because it's owned by Fox. The rear shock is a Fox Float DPS Performance, again, custom tuned for the Giant Trance. All like the stem, grips, the handlebars, all that stuff is just Giant Contact. That's Giant's proprietary brand. Good stuff, not amazing, not crummy. It's just decent aluminum stuff. The seat post, on the other hand, is the Giant Contact switch dropper. Never had a problem out of these, but it is a cartridge style dropper post. Super simple to work on. I've always been a fan of the cartridge style because you just take the cartridge out and you put the new one in. One thing that I am coming into contact with recently is Giant dropper posts that are, I don't know, 4 years old. I'm a longevity kind of person. I am all about having something that you can just rebuild over and over and over. And you can do that with these. You can buy a rebuild kit, so it'll get all the play out, super easy to work on, and you can buy cartridges. Except when Giant doesn't sell them anymore. That is an issue, so keep that in mind. If we really want to knock Giant for that, we have to knock all the companies for that because I don't know a brand other than seat post specific brands, almost like Bike Yoke or something. You can always get their stuff. But if you're going with a proprietary, even from Specialized Track Giant, they only seem to support them for a handful of years. So running into stuff now where people have had a dropper post for 4 years, at the end of the day though, a new dropper post anywhere from $150 to $300, so I can't knock them too much for that, but it is annoying that you can rebuild your dropper post, but you just can't get the parts. This is Shimano Dior Complete 1x12, which is pretty awesome. So you do get the shifter is Shimano Dior, the rear derailleur is Shimano Dior, the cassette should be Dior, the chain is going to be KMC. The reason Giant uses KMC chains is because their factory in Taiwan, or at least their headquarters, is pretty much across the street from Giant, or in my head it's across the street. Either way, they're both in Taiwan, so they do a lot of intermingling together, and that's why you're getting a KMC chain. The brakes are going to be Tektros, but they are 4-piston Tektros. That's a good thing to point out. A lot of people did not know TRP is Tektro. It stands for something like Tektro Race Product. Might be a little off on that, but I know it's like Tektro Race something. It's the same company between the two, so Tektro makes good. I mean, you know, you gotta peel out. I mean, why not? Tektro, for all intents and purposes, makes good stuff, but the Tektro name is relegated to their entry-level product. So just wanna put that out there. It's almost like SR Suntour. They make really good forks, but they also make very entry-level stuff, and their main market is the entry-level product. So the Tektro 4-piston brakes, I think, work just as good as some of the entry-level Shimano stuff. It's mineral oil, they work, they're easy to bleed. The crank set is a Praxis Cadet, decent crank, nothing to say about it, it's a 1x. The rims are Giant All Mountain 29, tubeless ready, of course. Nothing really to say about them as well. They get the job done, they're heavy, but they're almost bomb-proof. So there you have it. That is what the bike is coming with. Now, what exactly do I think about this thing? So if we're taking a look at the Giant Trance in the lineup of other bicycles, I think it is one of the best on the market because it's a great value at $2,800 for what you're getting. You are getting one of the best suspension platforms, in my opinion, with Maestro. All of them are going to be coming with this carbon upper rocker, no matter if you get the 10 grand bike or this bike. This is the same rocker that it comes with. What separates this suspension design from like a single pivot is that it has a rocker here and a rocker down at the bottom. So you have two rockers. For all intents and purposes, if you take a single pivot bike, this rear wheel is gonna come in at an arc when the suspension is active. Something like this that has multiple rockers, this rear wheel is gonna travel much more in a straight line up and down, so it's much more efficient. At the top end of the Maestro, it's got a little curve to it, but not much. It's a good suspension design. But with that being said, I think you have to really look into good suspension design trade-off with weight as well. This is not gonna be as lightweight as something like a single pivot design that's made more for cross-country. Most of your bike industry suspension designs are based off of stuff that Dave Waggle has done. He's pretty much the engineer behind all of these suspension designs. If you take Niner, for instance, they just had to get around Giant's patent for this suspension design. So this bottom rocker, they take it and flip it upside down and it's on the bottom. Other than that, it's almost identical. A lot of companies are like that. So when people start asking which suspension design is the best, I look at how well it performs, how simple it is so you don't have to overhaul it all the freaking time, and how lightweight it is. So we are gonna weigh this thing because for 2,800 bucks, I have what I think it might weigh. It actually pedals extremely well for what it is, but when you sit down on the bike, it is gonna sag just a little bit, and you're gonna kind of be in the suspension the entire time you ride. Whereas a single pivot bike, technically, if you arrive, I can't talk today and I apologize. Technically, if you were going to ride on like super smooth, like this concrete floor here, the suspension would not really be active until the rear end flexes enough to start the suspension. So other than that, I think the bike is actually priced pretty appropriately in this pandemic and fueled era. Somebody's hair. So yeah, let's weigh it and yeah, I'll get you guys out of here. The weight is what I expected it to be. Everything on this bike is heavy as crap. I would like to claim this is one of your entry to the high-end market at 2,800 bucks. I know it's a lot of money for a lot of people, but this is where Everything that is on this bike is essentially gonna be what's on a $6,000 bike, but what's on the $6,000 bike is going to be lighter. So what you're paying for when you go up from here is more or less the weight, longevity of some of the components comes into play as well, but a lot of that is subjective and how you ride and how you take care of your equipment. If it's 2 brand new bikes, it's gonna be weight. Yes, this thing is heavy, but it's got all the bells and whistles of a modern high-end bike. And that's what you're paying for. The colorway, I could take or leave. I don't care for it that much. I don't know, people like the fade, I guess, but it kind of looks like somebody rattle canned this back half. And then there's not a fade here, and there is down here. I don't know. It's not something I would pick, but I also do like that they're not slapping Giant on the down tube like so many brands are. Some people want people to know, hey, I ride a Giant or a Trek and I want it slapped everywhere. I'm not that guy. I like not having anything here. If anything at all, I would add a sticker here that's, you know, something funny. But I kind of like the subdued look. I like it. You know, the paint job is not gonna be the determining factor for me. I've ridden some ugly bikes and it's because it was the best deal and, in my opinion, best bike on the market at the time. So don't let the paint skew you. They do another color. Not sure what it is, I apologize. I think you will be completely happy if you buy this bike. If I had to put this thing on a scale of 1 to 10 at the current price point compared to other bikes, I would probably put it, you know, whenever I do these, I kind of just spitball how pleased I am with the bike. The bike hasn't changed that much in the past couple of years, except for you can finally get your hands on it. So I'd probably put it at about a 7 out of 10. You're completely gonna be happy with it. Nothing's changed a whole lot. Could use a little sprucing up with the paint, but I give it a 7 out of 10. Make sure you stick around. The next bike is gonna be way more high end than I'm used to touching, and I'm excited about it. So let's get to the next video. Bye-bye.